Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Sketchbook Diaries. Today, our guest artist is Mary Nersesyan, a student of mine for quite some time, a wonderful artist. We're going to be talking to her about art and all things art, and then we're going to be looking at her wonderful sketchbooks. So it's my pleasure to have Mary here today, and let's get started. Mary, if you can please tell us a little bit about yourself. How old are you, and when you started art?
I'm a senior in high school, so I'm 17 years old and I'm about to graduate. And I got started with art from a very young age. Whenever I was in preschool, whenever I was learning to write my letters, I would sketch them out instead of just drawing, like writing the lines. So my teachers went to my parents and they were like, she's not writing like the other kids in the class, like she's drawing out her letters. So they put me in art classes from 4 years old, and then I continued to go until now.
And so you started art when you were 4 years old. And do you remember at that young age what you were drawing, what things were interesting you as far as art was concerned? Like when you opened up, did you have a sketchbook at 4 years old, by the way?
No, I would just draw on like anything or like printer paper,
Printer paper?
whatever I could find.
Yeah. Do you remember the things that you would draw? I mean, as a 4 year old, there's always certain things that we draw, but do you remember what caught your eye?
I mean, it started as like probably like stick figures and animals. I would draw my family mostly, and I would draw a lot of houses, like the stereotypical like kids drawing of houses, like the sun in the corner.
Yeah. Just the most common things that we draw when we're kids.
Mm-hmm.
When did you know that you really loved art and it was something that you might want to do when you got older?
I mean, all throughout my life, it was just something that I would do. Like it was never a second thought. Like, is this what I want to do? Until I got to like high school, that's when I was like, okay, I need to get serious about this. I need to decide, am I doing it or not? And after I like looked into a few other fields, I was like, no, like art is the thing for me. I knew for a fact that's what I was going to do.
So you're currently in high school now, and you said you started going to art school at 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
How was that like? What was it like to be in a classroom setting? Now, was this only an art school?
Yeah, it was just an art class. I would go like once a week. And it started out, I remember there was one specific art horse, and I would always want to go sit in that one. I was very like antisocial. I would just go to work, and my teachers would come, but it was a lot of like foundational drawing. So they would draw like the basics for me, and then I would go from there. Like I was working with mostly oil pastels and just like tempera paints.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed going a lot because it was somewhere where I would go just to do art and there was no other distractions. And I enjoyed like being helped with my teachers and furthering my skill set. It was mostly the setting of being around other artists that would intimidate me.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had to work on that as until now, like that's already something I'm fine with. Like it doesn't affect me anymore. But from a young age, I was definitely very self-conscious of my work and like who was around me.
Yeah. And now you're in high school. So what are you interested in now as far as art is concerned? What is your primary focus at your current age?
Now my main focus is interior design. I want to pursue that as my career in the future, hopefully have my own office where I could hire other interior designers to collaborate with and we could work together. But right now I'm working a lot on more furniture design and just overall spaces in general, different materials, textiles.
Mm-hmm. And your current work that you're doing with me in our school is all geared towards that career path.
Mm-hmm.
When did you know that you really liked interior design? I mean, can I include architecture in there? I guess.
Yeah.
When did you know?
It was probably in middle school. I was in 6th or 7th grade. I remember I was just scrolling on YouTube, and then I found this video, and she was showing a dorm room, and she was showing like the ways that you could change how the entire room felt and who would be in that room just by changing like a few things. So after I found that video, I kind of went into like a hole in YouTube of just different interior design videos, and then from there I realized this is what I want to do. Well, I'm very interested by how just changing things in a room can affect how a person feels and how it reflects that person's personality. So I always want to look into what colors make you feel what way, what furniture would make the room feel bigger or smaller, and also a lot of working with how smaller spaces can feel bigger and how you can have a small space and have furniture that moves around and has different purposes. Coming from living in a small room with someone else, with my sister, it's just interesting to see how you can have one room for two people and have different furniture that can change for different functions.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed about you early on, as a student, is that you're very meticulous. You're very precise. And even one of your earlier sketchbooks, which wasn't really an art sketchbook, you were practicing drawing letters. Am I right? Like kind of like a journal, and you'll explain that a little bit later on. But you've always been very precise. You like organization, and that of course led you to something like interior design that is very architectural in the way that it's approached. Um, you're you're in high school, but what I want to talk about real like kind of briefly is you've already applied to all your schools that you want to go to, and you do want to pursue art in college. What are some of the schools that you applied to, and if you can tell us if you got the response from them.
Okay, so I applied to Pratt Institute, Parsons, and I also applied to Art Center, and then I also applied to Otis. So those were like the main art schools I applied to. I got into all of them with like varying scholarships, and then I decided to do a community college path and then transfer to the 4-year school after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something I wanted you to talk about it, but it's something that I'm very proud of. You applied to, I can honestly say, a lot of the major art schools, and you were accepted to all of them. And, like you said, varying degrees of scholarship. And so I was really proud of you that you applied to all of these schools. And you also applied to a lot of these schools on your own. You did everything on your own, and you went about it, without really talking about it to anybody, telling anybody about it. And so that's great that you actually pursued that and took that into your own hands. You're going to go to a community college, take some classes there, and then eventually move or go to the school you want to. What, from those choices, those schools that did accept you, or actually all of them accepted you, those schools, which one is the ideal one for interior design? For anyone that doesn't know and is interested in this career path, what school best fit that, I guess, criteria that you want from that career choice? And which one would you really want to go to?
So if I intend on staying in state after the 2 years, I will definitely go to Art Center, just because their spatial experience program has so much more than just interior design. It has product design, lighting design, and architecture. So I feel like after I graduate, I'll have a lot more career options if I want to end up being an architect, or if I want to work with different companies like set design. I would really love to try. So I feel like that school would help me keep my career options open if I do change my mind.
Yeah, well, set design would be really cool. I think that would be an area that I can totally see you getting into. Speaking about interior design, are there any artists in that field that you can talk about? I don't know that much about interior design. I know certain ways to approach it and, treat it as all art, but I don't know that much about it. So are there any artists that you currently look at that inspire you, that make you want to, get into it even more, keep that fire burning, I guess?
So the first artist that comes to mind is Mr. Kate, and she's actually who I found out about interior design from. I would look through her videos, and then she would show the entire process, start to finish, working with clients, their reactions, and she would show the spaces before and after. And her videos really let me get into her brain and see exactly what it takes to be an interior designer. And just looking at her work, she makes every space looks like it's exactly for the person that she designed it for. You can tell it has her touch as an artist, but every space is exactly how the person described that they want it to be, and their reactions every time. It seems like such a gratifying experience for her to make it somewhere that they're going to live forever, and they're going to actually enjoy it, and it's going to feel like home to them.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to put you on the spot here just real quick. What's your favorite design style as far as interior goes? We have different types of centuries and different types of stuff. What's one that you like?
Well, I really like looking at just traditional. And recently I read an article about how shaker style is coming back, and that was very interesting to me on Architectural Digest, just looking at how houses that were designed such a long time ago could have such a timeless result. Like, it was designed probably 1800s, 1900s, and people are still looking at it and learning from it today.
Mm-hmm. Do you try to stay current with the latest trends? Is that something that you're looking into? And the reason why I ask is, there are a lot of students that I've come across who like a specific style of work, comic book, yada yada, and all this, and yet they don't really continue to research it or stay connected to it. They still, when they talk about it, they like talk about artists from the past and not anyone really current. Do you stay current with interior design? And, how important is that to you?
Yeah, I definitely try and stay current. I look through I have a subscription for Architectural Digest, so I'll look through that, and then the Architectural Digest 100 will show like the newest interior designers and architects that are coming like to the forefront of the field. And by looking through those, I'm able to see like what's coming out, what's coming in, and just how the styles are evolving, and who are like the new people in the field.
Yeah. Now, where do you see yourself in the next, few years? I know you're going to go to school for about 4 or 5 years. After that, what is the ideal scenario for you? Where would you like to be after that? A few years after that, 10 years down the road, what is your ultimate goal here?
So after I graduate, I want to intern at either an interior design office or somewhere where I can work with set design. And I would just want to experiment with all the different fields within interior design, see what my favorite is. So then from there, I can move on to kind of establishing my own brand and my own business, where I can just have that as my career until I decide to retire. I can have my own office where I can control who I work with, who my clients are. And then from there, yeah.
Yeah, so just have your own agency, essentially. That's a great goal. And, I know that just like I feel with all you guys, I know that you're going to get there. Like I said, you're a go-getter. You don't give up. Every project that I've ever given you, all right, you've accomplished. You become very set on achieving that goal. Whether you like the drawing or not, or the painting or not, it's almost like, no, if I don't finish this, I'm going to be very upset with myself. And so a lot of the work that you've done is like just, very hard on yourself. Like, I need to get this done. So you're a go-getter. You have goals that you want to achieve. And for people like that who think that way, like yourself, you achieve your goals. What you've set in front of you, you get to that point. You accomplish that. And that's why I have so much confidence in the things that you do. Like I said, you applied to school without telling anybody. And the only reason why I knew is because we were working on your portfolio, and I had to do a few things for that. But otherwise, you were completely fine going about this entire process on your own. And, things like that, like I said, make me very proud, even though not everybody was happy about that. But we won't talk about that. Let's talk about something, of course, that's, as artists, that's very important to us and that I'd love to know more about. How has it been in your life to be an artist? So for 17 years, like 15, 14 years, you've been an artist. So what's that been like for you?
Well, it's been a very interesting experience, just seeing how other people react to it. It was always, Mary's going to be an artist, until they realized it wasn't a joke. Like, I was actually serious about it. And then kind of everyone around me had to adjust. They always were like, be a doctor, like be a lawyer. And then when I was like, no, it was an interesting shift until that support kind of came back. And it's just always been extremely fun. Everywhere I would go, I would take note of what was around me. I'll be drawing in class, pulling out my sketchbook anytime I get bored, which probably shouldn't do. But every time I open my sketchbook, it's almost like it's a place for me to just put all my thoughts into drawing. All my thoughts are translated onto that paper, and it helps me kind of get everything out. I don't keep any emotions bottled up anymore. Everything is all on the paper. If you look through it, it's like everything I'm thinking, it's on that paper. So it's kind of like a way for me to translate everything I feel into something visual. And then looking back on it, it's always interesting to see what I was thinking during that time, what was inspiring me at that time. So it's always been extremely fun for me. Even when I get frustrated, it's something like, I'll get annoyed from it, but then working past it, it's like, okay, I have this skill now, and now I can use it. And it's just interesting to see how my work developed.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your sketchbooks before we get to look at them. What is the primary function of a sketchbook for you? Right? What do you use it for? And what's the process of working in one of them?
So for me, my sketchbook is anything that I'm thinking that I want to create, it goes straight into my sketchbook. I put my ideas for different paintings, for different furniture designs into my sketchbooks. Things I find inspirational, I'll put it in. Recently I've been starting to put in clippings from magazines of furniture that inspires me or artists. And then I'll always take notes in my sketchbooks. I'll write like notes to myself, come back to this, or ideas that I have that I'm not ready to start drawing yet, I'll write them down. And yeah, everything I think, I open my sketchbook, and then most of the time I don't have a plan. Most of the time I'll just start drawing something and then see how it develops, which is why a lot of my pieces are very like collage-esque. Like I'll add to them as I keep going.
So it's almost like you start off with a thought and just see where that leads you. And which is a form of resolving something. Well, it's not really a problem, but here's an idea, here's a thought. Let me write it down, let me draw it out, whatever, and then see where that takes you. It's almost like an organic process you're going through. For some people, a sketchbook is very like, they've thought about it before they've even opened that sketchbook. I have sketchbooks like that where when I know exactly what I'm going to do when I open that page and what it's for. With you, I feel like it's a very organic, what will be kind of thing where you're just kind of letting it flow, which is an interesting way to go about a sketchbook, I've enjoyed the last few entries a lot of them, but I've enjoyed the last few because it's different thoughts. It's you at different stages of the day, of the week, and you're just kind of bringing them all together. In a sense, it's almost like just us getting a glimpse of your mind instead of here's a cool picture in my sketchbook. And so that's been an interesting thing for me to see personally in your work. Now, with that said, I'd love to take a look at these wonderful sketchbooks and see the pictures that you've drawn, the more recent ones and the ones that you started with. So we'll get set up and take a look at these beautiful sketchbooks. All right? See you guys real soon.
Okay, so this one is my first serious sketchbook from I was 11 to 13 years old. And at this point, I was mostly just Googling ideas and just kind of developing my skill set in a very interesting way because I didn't really know what I was doing. This is when I first started getting into interior design, but I didn't really know what I was doing yet. And then I started to get obsessed with doing these patterns, the mandalas. So I would draw them everywhere. So this sketchbook is also for middle school. It's kind of going through the same phase as the one before. I wasn't too serious about my sketchbooks yet. I was just developing my own ideas, but also getting ones from online. And then this is where I first got my first calligraphy pens. So I was trying to practice all the letters. Really all I would do was do different words with the calligraphy pens until I actually liked how it looked. So this is my first bullet journal, and I was just learning everything about it, so there's a lot of trial and error. But I don't know why I started in November, so it's kind of haphazard. But so about January, I was starting to put more thought into all of my spreads. I would put more effort into all the little drawings, and I was getting a lot more precise. And then I would always do like every single week I would write my homework in here and everything I had to do in the day. Okay, for August, this one is actually my favorite spread. This one I wanted to make sure it was, in my middle school brain, I wanted to make sure this was perfect because my birthday's in August. So I put so much time into this one, and it took me probably until like the middle of August to even finish planning it. So then the rest of the pages kind of didn't have as much effort as the beginning. So for this one, I learned a lot from the previous one, so I put a grid, so every single time I didn't have to go back and count every single bullet that there was. And I made more general pages in the beginning to look back to. Okay, this spread I did inspired by Billie Eilish because her album just came out during this time. So every page I dedicated to a different song. So we have I Love You for this one, and then just like every page was something different. This sketchbook is probably whenever I started coming to the studio and I was becoming more serious. So there's a lot more like just different things, different exercises we did during class. And then these are color studies for a portrait that I did for Portraits of Kindness during whenever I was 14 when I first went to high school. So this sketchbook is my most recent one that I just finished it, and this one is definitely my favorite. It's from last year to this year, and I started putting a lot more time and effort into my sketchbooks with this one. So here I first started experimenting with the Posca pens, and I was doing an exercise where whatever show I was watching, I would look up at the screen as quickly, like for like 1 second, and I would draw whatever I saw on the screen. So this one is for Pulp Fiction, and then this page is for Friends. And it was just to get me to see things and draw them as quickly as possible. This one's for Never Have I Ever. And then Jennifer's Body. This page took me probably, since I got this sketchbook, I was putting in different candy wrappers. It took me like 2 months to collect enough, just so like probably when I was doing the last few pages, I could paint something on top. And then this is from a photo shoot Harry Styles did with Dazed magazine. I just took his favorite outfits and then I drew them as simplified. And then this piece is probably one of my favorites. It flips out, so this is me as a child, and then I wrote, "Look out world, watch out and see me do it." And then whenever you open it, you could see me growing up. And then, yeah, it's just to show me, I was like 5 years old here, this is like 12 years old, and then now. And then here I have a page. I took out these clippings from an Architectural Digest magazine and I took notes on this interior designer, Jean-Michel Frank, and then I looked into what style he was working with, collaborations and materials that he would use often. And then this is a page of just different furniture studies of the silhouettes, so I could refer to it later and see what I want to make into a finished piece. This is my newest sketchbook. I just started it probably like 1 or 2 weeks ago. And then right now I'm working on the welcome page. I'm going to put probably a collage of all my, like everything I get inspiration from. And then I have brainstorming here and different spiders. And then this page is actually kind of funny because I got a 12% on my math test. So I put the Scantron into my sketchbook and then I drew myself and my friend during class whenever we were working on our project. And then this sketch pad is from when I was first getting into interior design. It has all my floor plan ideas, so here we have a bedroom. Here's where I started getting more into product design. I was designing an art horse, so first I started out with different silhouettes, and then I decided on this one, so then I went forward with that. And then I rendered it a little bit and then got it to the final stage. And then this is the finished product. So I just took what I did in the silhouette and then I added color and rendering to it. So this piece, it's a floor plan from the top view of an art studio. So the different pieces all represent different things. So we have a couch and a workspace with all the different chairs. These all represent art horses, and then these circles are going to be easels. And then there's also doors that move on either side. And then all of the little acrylic pieces are the windows, and then we also have a shelf here. So the idea for this was just to design like my dream art studio, and I tried to include as many different workspaces as I could so people working on every different type of project could have a space to go and work.
Mary, thank you for sharing your sketchbooks with us. They were wonderful and inspiring, and I hope people watching this episode were inspired, and hopefully they, helps them figure out how to continue with their sketchbooks and keep a sketchbook. Before we say bye to everyone though, where can we find you online?
On my Instagram account, it's at Mary's World. It's the main platform that I use.
And it's a great Instagram account. Mary's always posting her work, and it's a great way to see her progression in this world of art. Thank you for watching another episode of Sketchbook Diaries with our guest today, Mary Nersesyan.
And make sure you watch the next episode featuring the very talented Gara Boyadjian.
See you later, everybody.